All right, fam. This is going to be the Disney Princess Medley from Voctave. Let's do this.
Wouldn't you think my collection's complete? Wouldn't you think I'm the girl who has everything? I've got gadgets and gizmos aplenty. I've got who's its and what's its galore. You want thingamabobs? I got 20. But who cares? No big deal. I want more. Some answers. What's a fire and why does it? What's the word? Burn. When's in my turn? When I love to explore that shore up above. Out of the sea. Wish I could be part of that world. Look at me, I will never pass for a perfect bride or a perfect daughter. Can it be? I'm not meant to play this part. Now I see that if I were truly to be myself, I would break my family's heart. Who is that girl I see staring straight back at me? Why is my reflection somewhere You think the only people who are people who look and think like you. But if you walk the footsteps of a stranger, you'll learn things you never knew, Have you ever heard the wolf cry to the blue corn moon, or asked the grinning bucket why he grinned? We need to sing with all the voices of the mountain. We need to paint with all the colors of the wind. You can own the earth and still all you'll own is earth until you can paint with all the colors of the wind. When will my reflection someday appear? Once upon a dream. Someday when my dreams come true. Have you ever
Oh my gosh. So one cool thing, guys, about doing this offline is like I feel no pressure to pause. And you know, I might go back and edit this and like chop it up so you don't have to watch me watch the whole thing, but I think I might keep it in. And because wow, what a treat. This is Christopher's request, or you may know him as Prime. But we've never reacted to Voctave on the stream before on the channel, and I've heard some of their stuff, I will say, and this is like the best possible vocal ensemble, one of the best, world-class vocal ensembles that there are, vocal only, a cappella, whatever you want to call them. Absolutely stunning. A couple things that stand out for me that really makes this group impressive to me as a performer and a teacher. Obviously, all of their vocal technique is like impeccable. Vocal technique really plays an important role when it comes to vocal ensembles because it is very important that the type of production used in the voice is similar across all the singers. Like you could get a world-class singer to audition for this group, but they might not even be considered at all based on the way they sing. Because it is so important that you fit the role of your voice type. I always say voice type doesn't matter unless you're in a vocal ensemble or you're singing opera. Those are the only two cases, and musical theater as well, for the most part, if you're doing full shows. But these are the two scenarios where voice type matters because, as you can hear, every vocal color plays its role so nicely. With, the soloist is getting featured from time to time. The mixing helps with that. The rest of the singers, when they're not being featured, know how to maintain their full sound while staying in the background and not cutting through. But when they're articulating and when they're being that solo performer, each of the 6 women we heard have absolutely impeccable ability to adjust the color ever so slightly so that it sticks out. And mixing helps with that as well, but you could see there are 4 groups of 3 singers each on 4 different microphones, so no one has a solo mic that is able to be mixed in post. So a majority of the amazing color and texture and blend that they have while coming out as soloists happens in the performance. And that's what I appreciate so much about this. And the other video I saw of them, not on stream or anything, but it was the same deal. They were all organized like a choir, and they had room mics, but the tight harmonies are so impressive. That's only possible when these people are able to listen to each other and have an exact plan on how they need to sing when they're with each other to blend that way. It's absolutely amazing. Let's just kind of start. Let's start again and piece our way through. I love the trajectory of the soloist voices, how they go from like the highest, most released sound to the most like compressed kind of pop technique of their singers, right? Everyone has different, and they all have very versatile voices, but the way it's done in this song, it goes from the most like ethereal and magical, right? This is a Disney Princess Medley. It has those elements of magic and whimsy in them, to I believe a song that has one of the most tangible stories from Pocahontas, the Painting with All the Colors of the Wind. That song has the most in my opinion, accessible story to it out of all of these songs, especially in our times right now. Being able to understand other perspectives and being able to appreciate the world and the subtleties in it, and the things that if you move too fast, you can miss them. But that's a very grounded concept. But at the beginning, we have this very light soubrette, almost soubrette lyric sound coming from our soloist that is absolutely stunning. So let's listen to this trajectory, and I'll talk a little bit about their techniques and the styles that they're singing in and how they complement each other really nicely as we go through. So let's get into it.
Someday my prince will come. Someday I'll find my love, and how thrilling and wonderful when the prince of my dreams comes to me.
So her voice is very, very typically what we call in the operatic world the soubrette soprano. It has that really sweet forward. It's like candy, right? It's just like a line of licorice. Like, it's so yummy to listen to, and it's so sweet, and it's high and pingy, and it's very princess-like. Like all of those standard, basic, old-timey Disney singers, they were for the most part all soubrette sopranos. They had that sweet forward quality, and it's an amazing way to open this song with one of the most princessly songs in the whole thing, the subject matter at least. It's awesome, and it just opens you up. It's a fun sound. It's not there's no internal conflict here. It's very what you would expect a princess to be singing, what you'd expect like to be going through the Cinderella story, the Sleeping Beauty story, the Snow White story. It's that where's Prince Charming, right? And so that's an idea that's accessible to anyone. Awesome way to start this medley out. And the vocal harmonies are so reminiscent of that Disney harmony that we hear in a lot of different of those early Disney movies, and it's just like so nostalgic to open this up. And that's important when you're programming a medley or you're programming an album or a recital and you're deciding on your set list. You want the most universal idea to open people up. The more you can disarm your audience, disarm your listeners with a universal idea at the beginning of your set, whatever it is, the better they will be ready to accept any deeper concepts that you bring in, right? And so this soubrette soprano, this high, almost coloratura, I'm sure she has those high notes in there as well that give her the ability to like do a lot of high jumpy stuff. The sound, it contributes to that idea as well. It's a magical sound. It's not a human sound. It's an inhuman technique. It's released. It's high. It's not close to speaking. It's the farthest thing from it out of all of these singers. And so it's just like a warm, magical hug to welcome you into this Disney Princess medley. I love it. Let's keep going.
He'll whisper, I love you, and steal a kiss or two, though he's far away. We'll find my love someday when dreams come true.
Everything she's singing is, you see her teeth shining bright. The sound is all radiating inside the head. The soft palate is raised. Her jaw is completely out of the way, so all she needs to do is send the air up. I doubt she even thinks of vowel, because at that point, it's unintelligible really what she's saying. We understand because we can hear the consonants and we have the backing singers, and our brain assembles those sounds together to give words to her what she's singing. But when you're all up on that high Z, whatever that pitch is, whatever, that's shooting up right through her head, and there's no room to create a vowel up there. And so it's just whatever she uses, whatever her favorite vowel is. I was talking to a teacher earlier, and they were talking about going vowel shopping with their students to figure out what the best vowel for them is in those high ranges. Because for all voice types, when you're in that high range, about anything above an F4, the vowel itself is pretty unintelligible to the regular ear. Like I said earlier, we assemble the words as listeners, and so it's up to the singer to create that beautiful sound up there. That's what high singing is all about, creating a beautiful sound, and the words will do their job, right? As listeners, our brains will help us out there. But that's what gives her that beautiful shimmer up there. It's that lifted soft palate, all those overtones happening, and then she just opens the window in the front with her teeth, and she lets the sound just kind of be there, and that can go right into the microphone. It's thin. It's a beautiful, thin, silvery strand of sound, and it's all because everything stays vertical. Everything stays relaxed here. There's nothing complicated. She's not over-breathing. She's not under-breathing. It's so optimally done, and again, it creates that magical silvery tone that's perfect for opening the Disney Princess Medley.
I know you, I walked with you once upon a dream. I know you, the gleam in your eyes is so familiar a gleam. Yet I know it's true that visions are set above the sea. But if I know you, I know what you'll do. You'll love me at once, the way you did once
Once Upon a Dream. So our second soloist, I was wrong. There are only 5 soloists. I said 6 earlier. But our second soloist, she has more of a lyrical voice, and she's singing with a much jazzier timbre to it. She's relying a lot more on chest range, chest phonation, but she's keeping it breathy, which is not getting in the way of any of her facility. So she's able to bring the sound up, but we get a little bit more mask resonance this time, which as we sing lower, and I talk to you guys who I give lessons to, that the mask resonance is a lot more tangible when we're in our middle to lower range, right? And as we go up, that mask resonance sort of transitions. If we're singing in like a full voiced manner, which she is, it goes up, and you can still get those really soft and subtle qualities while using the full timbre of the sound. But we get that really nice breathiness in the sound as a result of letting the sound stay a little more forward, a little more conversational in phonation, as we can see. But she keeps her top teeth showing the whole time to maximize the resonance that she can get out of such a small sound. By pulling back the volume and then really relying on resonance, you can get incredible clarity in the sound. But it's a much more rounded, closer to lyrical sounding voice, a little more full, right? Soubrette is that light high. Coloratura is sometimes that, but coloratura can also have more body to it. And then we move down into a more lyrical soprano. We're not in the mezzo or alto range yet, so to speak, but I have a feeling we're going to get there.
Look at this stuff, isn't it neat? Wouldn't you think my collection's complete? Wouldn't you think I'm the girl who has everything?
One thing I just love about this, unrelated to singing, but she has red hair, just like Ariel, the Little Mermaid. I love that. Technique-wise, right off the bat, you hear the difference, right, of what our first 2 soprano soloists had. And she's probably a soprano, but in this case, she's singing in that middle range area. That's much more indicative of like musical theater singing, very forward, a little bit of really nasal resonance, but nothing, no lower nasal pharynx. But the sound is placed very far forward in the nasal area, in the nose area. That gives you that real clarity. And when you're doing that yourself, you can feel that when the resonance is placed, in this area. You see some singers who use microphones when they're performing hold the mic, up here. It's to capture that clarity of pitch that you can get from that forward teeth and mask resonance, right? So just to be aware of that, and it's working so well here. You could literally hear her in the actual Disney video, right? It's uncanny in the actual movie, right? This is like the iconic Disney princess sound. At least when we get to things like The Little Mermaid and kind of that 80s, 90s Disney princess. Earlier Disney princesses in the movies were definitely more of that classical soubrette to lyrical timbre. This is great, though. Let's keep going.
I've got gadgets and gizmos aplenty. I've got who's its and what's its galore. Thingamabobs? I got 20. But who cares? No big deal. I want more.
Another perfect example, now that we're on the subject, perfect example of vowel modification. You know, she's not singing more. The word is more. She's literally, and you can see it on her face and you can hear it, she's just going, meh. When I do it in my lower range like that, it's like, what the heck? It's not even a word. But in the context of her technique and in everything she's doing, she's creating a world with the style of singing, and she's creating a way of interpreting language with the way she's singing it that is absolutely, like, it disguises the language to your ear. So while she's singing mer, we're going to hear it as more. Like let's replay it again. This is the power of vowel modification, guys.
No big deal. I want more.
I take it back. It's more like mar, but regardless, she's relying on resonators. She's relying on the text and her backup singers to say the words, but she's not singing like you would speak it at all. I want ma, ma. I want mar. If you spoke it that way with this accent, it wouldn't make any sense. But again, that's the perfect vowel for her in that spot to really give it something, you know, give it that sheen that works so well here.
I'm ready to know what the people know. Ask them my questions and get some answers. What's a fire and why does it? What's the word? When's in my turn? When I love to explore that shore above.
I think that when in the first listen, this section stood out to me as like one of my favorite backing sections, because this song can be very like plain and very intimate, but they've made it so grand through the rolling melodies that are going behind the main melody, right? There are those repeated tenor lines, oh, those arpeggios that just bring more texture to the harmonies. Because one thing that really kind of irks me about a lot of vocal groups is that it's possible if you just like sing on static chords. But I love this arrangement and I love what they're doing with this because they're creating texture within those chords. That arpeggio that's being sung by our tenor a couple measures back.
Love to explore when's in my turn when I love to explore that shore.
So you go, oh, and then the sopranos, who just had their solos, take that idea, that rolling harmony, that arpeggio, and then they bring it up to the next interval, right? So you could do, you know, a chord has 3 different intervals. There's the bass position. Then you take the bass, the root note of that, and bring it up an octave. And then you have the third of the note at the bottom and the octave at the top. Second inversion, third inversions with the fifth of the chord on top and the rest on the top, on the bottom, and then the rest of the chord on top. They're using that idea of the arpeggio, you know, across the keyboard to increase the intensity, right? Composers back in the 1800s did this, like Rossini, for example, is a very popular operatic composer from the mid-1800s, and he would use this dynamic as a way to increase intensity as an operatic scene went on. He would add layers, and then he would increase he would change the intervals and move the chords up to higher and more intense either voices or instruments to create excitement. And obviously it's working here. As you can see, I mean, everyone is obviously thrilled to be singing this. They're great performers. They're having fun. But when you listen to it, that intensity just peaks as that arpeggio gets moved up from the tenors to the sopranos, and it just keeps going. It's beautiful. So let's just listen to it and hear those voice types. I'll try to articulate it with my hand or whatever, but
When's in my turn when I love to
sopranos.
explore that shore above.
And at that climax, our lovely high soprano soubrette over here, she's right here. Here. Right there. She brings us with that beautiful descant, right? That just kind of ends that conclusion. The only way that works is when their voices are so consistent and tight, right? Like it's the technique has to be there for this. And we talk about singers who don't need technique to be good performers. We talk about singers who are incredible technicians and they teach as well. This is one of the times where vocal technique is absolutely paramount. You have to have complete control over what you're doing so that you don't misplace yourself in the group, especially when they're blending so well. Impeccable.
Out of the sea, wish I could be part of that world. Look at me, I will never pass for a perfect bride or a perfect daughter. Can it be? I'm not meant to play this part. Now I see that if I were truly to be myself, I would break my family's heart. Who is that girl I see staring straight back at me? Why is my reflection someone I don't know? Somehow I cannot hide.
All right, sorry, I'm getting so wrapped up in this. Check this. This is that other moment, and I think I pointed it out when we listened to it for the first time. But oh my gosh, this song is amazing. This is Mulan, right? I shouldn't ask that because there's no one here to verify it. I think this is Mulan, but I don't want to be wrong. Don't kill me. Wait, so when this climactic moment in this section, first of all, soloist, beautiful mezzo soprano, very forward, very nice, clear sound coming out, but nothing is too over darkened. This is, our mezzo soprano so far the darkest we've heard in order of tone color, and it's usually when you have lower voices, sometimes you get a little bit of woofiness, sometimes you get a little over darkness, but as she's a part of this incredible vocal group, the clarity is so tangible here. The clarity is amazing, and it's just, it warms your heart, but then it creates a window into the story that she's singing about, of this misplaced person, this misidentified person. Obviously, in the context of the story, she feels like a failure to her father and to her family, but there's such a deep window of understanding. They saved these really hard hitters from these 2000s, 1990s, very identity focused songs to the end, and it's really impacting. With lower voices, you often feel a more human aspect to it. As we said, with the high sopranos, it's more ethereal, it's more magical. But with lower voices, it's a voice that you feel more welcomed by. And that's kind of unavoidable because most of us now, especially in American culture, we speak in our chest voice. So the way that these voices are set, all of these singers could probably sing each of these songs, but the way that the harmonies and the way that the tessitura for each solo is set, it works perfectly to really draw you into a more human issue. We're no longer mourning over Prince Charming or longing to live out of the water. We're now talking about identity, and it's really beautiful. I mean, look, Disney, you can't you can't really miss a moral of the story with Disney, but Voctave set this medley up in such a way that it really pulls you in at the front with whimsy, and then it really narrows down to these human aspects, and her voice so accurately captures that open window into personality identity struggles. It's really impressive. And there's so much clarity for such a rich sound. It's absolutely impeccable, keeping the sound so focused and yet warm and dark. Beautiful.
Why is my
Now.
reflection somewhere?
Watch our soprano soloist. High voice.
Somehow I can't.
Look, right here. Right here. Right here. Right here. Look at that. Look at that wide open aperture. That sound is a pin. It's pin tight. It is the most, it's so tight and clear, and yet she is wide open. And she's not sending that sound forward. That sound is going straight up through her head. Like no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Absolutely stunning. And it creates these, with 5 different songs in the medley, we have these 5 different climaxes, not to mention that last moment. But an effective use of vocal harmony like this, an effective use of excellent singers like this makes it so much more special to be a part of. Let's keep it going.
When will my reflection show who I am inside?
Our high tenor there, reaching up to that. Right up to that. I don't know. That was probably, I don't know, D, E flat or something crazy. C. I don't know. My voice is in performance mode, so I don't have many extra notes right now. But you can hear him doing that full voiced right in here. Absolutely impeccable. And the being able to do that. Now, obviously, they have some leeway with each voice type. They have the high guys over on our left, the low guys on our right. Then next to the high guys are the high girls, and then the low girls on the right of that, of which our soloist is part of right now. So they have some leeway in the mixing process to kind of maximize things, but they're all in the same room. So this sound is coming together, and every mic is picking up a little bit of every singer in this case. So being able to sing that high without adding ping onto the front just requires an immense understanding of how to support and use the voice in a full way, but without creating too much pingy, higher frequency resonance. Because all of these singers are full voice singers. There's no one who's singing in like an overly constricted or under-supported way. This is all power singing, in my opinion. That's why I treat this: rock singing, operatic singing, big musical theater singing. This stuff as well, and that's what's truly impressive. There was I think his name was Robert Shaw, but he was a choral pedagogue back in, he was big in the 70s and 80s in academia, and he believed that it was possible to get a group of full voice singers to sound incredible together, because before that, when you think of choir music, a lot of it was, and even now in a lot of contemporary choirs and vocal ensembles, you get a lot of just like straight toned whatever. If you listen to like the Mormon Tabernacle Choir, for example, a lot of just like straight toned, very, very compartmentalized singing. But this is what, 9, 10, 11 singers? 11 singers singing together in all just letting it rip, but maintaining and being in full control of the resonances that they're creating with their singing, the control of what we call formants. There's not too much upper ping when you're singing in the background, but when you're singing front and center as the soloist, you bring that bite to the sound that lets you stick out, You could, some people might make the argument, it's like, oh, post-production, you can do anything. They're not doing that. This is not a post-production sound. This is a natural sound that they're achieving in the studio on their own. Yes, there are obviously levels of post-production, but their ability to blend has largely to do with the way they're listening to each other, and that's what's super impeccable. The way that a guy can sing something above a C5 without letting that become front and center. It's immense control of the breath pressure, of the aperture here, not letting anything squeeze, just letting it go up and rise without any bite in it. It's much more difficult to sing softly up there than sing loudly. And yeah, I mean, I mentioned earlier, one of the most virtuosic groups I've heard, but absolutely stunning. Absolutely stunning. Man, and the way they're doing harmonies is so cool. Sometimes I miss this. I used to do this stuff in high school and college, and it was a blast. It was very different from what I do now, and so I had to stop for my own purposes. But man, this is like top tier musicianship, right? Understanding where you are in the chord, how you have to fit in, because if a D, say you're singing a D, and that D is the root of the chord, you have to stand out. If it's the third of the chord, you have to pull back. If it's if you're doing like a jazz chord and you're on a leading tone, you have to kind of twinge with a semitone higher, just to imply that harmony in a more concrete way. Because a D or an E or an A, B, C, D, E, F, G, they're not all the same. They're based on where they are in the chord, where they are in the scale you're singing. You'll make it a little sharp, a little flat, just to match the tonality, right? That's what we call tonality, is the way you color a pitch based on where it sits in the harmony. Let it sit higher, let it sit more concrete, a little lower. It's very subtle, but they're all doing that absolutely impeccably. That's why it sounds so sharp, tight.
When will my reflection show who I am inside? You think the only people who are people who look and think like you. But if you walk the footsteps of a stranger, you'll learn things you never knew. Have you ever heard the wolf cry to the blue corn moon, or asked the grinning bucket why he grinned? We need to sing with all the voices of the mountain. We need to paint with all the colors of the wind. You can own the earth and still all you'll own is earth until you can paint with all the colors of the wind. When will my
I just have to say, like, that song always makes me tear up. Like, if we ever watch the Pocahontas movie at home or anything, that's so touching. Because these stories, you think about, if you call someone a princess in your real life, it's probably an insult, right? Because you're talking about someone who's so self-focused, so self-interested. And Disney princesses, obviously, over the time have become, symbols of empowerment, which is a really beautiful thing, especially the newer ones. And it's funny, like the older princesses are all really concerned with, finding love and Prince Charming and whatever. I mean, Cinderella is kind of like not being in servitude anymore, finding your freedom. But as time goes on, that idea of empowerment and inspiration has really become prolific, and it's a really beautiful thing. And these songs are all, they're staples. They're the cornerstone of who they are as characters. And it's lovely that, Pink with All the Colors of the Wind is such an iconic one from Pocahontas. And it tells that story of, it takes the idea of, being inspirational and takes it beyond, the individual capability, and it talks about how you can appreciate the earth and the world around you more. And it's such a beautiful way of ending this, because we do take that journey of, whimsical self-interest, bringing it into, an identity, curiosity to identity, and then into like, let's keep our planet safe. That's what I get from it. And it's and our final, our alto soloist has such a rich velvety timbre to her voice, and it is the most, in my opinion, conversational sound. It's the most accessible sound to, a non-vocally inclined ear, in that you just feel truth in it. You hear truth in it. You can hear whimsy in the high soubrette soprano voice, but you hear truth in this alto, warm, velvety sound, and that's incredibly special. And being able to achieve that in a group like this is no simple feat, because I'm sure she has so many different capabilities with her voice. That's a very deep vocal timbre, a very large vocal profile that can accentuate probably different things. She probably has a huge range. But the warmth and the amount of invitation in that sound is it's like so perfect for where it is in the song, the subject matter of this portion of the medley. It's absolutely stunning. So I just think it's lovely. And then they just break into the reprise of all of the different components. Let's just play it out because I think everything's been said that needs to be said. You know, I'm not one to go over in-depth vocal harmonies on these. Quite frankly, it's about, you know, the feelings that you get from the voice. I think that's what I've discovered in the last year of doing this content is the most impacting thing to talk about. Why we feel what we feel in this music. Because at the end of the day, if you're a singer or you're just a listener, that's why we spend time and energy in this arena with this type of art, you know? All right, let's reprise.
You can paint with all the colors of the wind. When will my reflection someday once upon a dream? Someday when my dreams come true. Have you ever heard the wolf cry to the blue corn moon, or asked the grinning bucket why he grinned? We need to sing.
Guys, go download on iTunes. That's the least we can do to support this group. Absolutely stunning. Prime, thank you so much. That was like quite lovely. I really appreciate you sharing that. And I've never heard Voctave before, so lovely. Amazing. I'm looking forward to hearing more. See you guys in the next one.